The autumn wind whispered through the Colorado mountains, carrying with it the scent of pine and approaching winter. Elena Rodriguez stood on her cabin's porch, coffee mug warming her calloused hands as she watched the sun sink behind the peaks. After 15 years in special forces, she'd chosen this quiet life, consulting on security systems for wealthy clients while keeping to herself. The solitude suited her, or so she told herself. The first sign that something was wrong came from her dogs. Both German shepherds, usually calm and well-trained, suddenly went rigid, their ears perked toward the old barn. Elena's military instincts kicked in immediately. She set down her mug and retrieved her sidearm from inside, moving silently across the gravel path toward the barn. The security system showed no breaches, but Elena knew better than to trust technology alone. As she approached the barn doors, she noticed a faint blue glow seeping through the cracks, definitely not from any equipment she owned. Inside, the sight before her defied explanation. A woman, if she could be called that, lay crumpled against a hay bale. Her skin had a pearlescent sheen that seemed to pulse with its own inner light, and intricate markings spiraled across her exposed arms and face. She wore what appeared to be armor, but it was like nothing Elena had ever seen, seeming to shift and flow like liquid metal. The stranger was injured. A dark fluid that definitely wasn't blood seeped from a wound in her side, and her breathing came in short, labored gasps. As Elena approached, the woman's eyes snapped open. They were entirely silver, with no pupils or iris, yet somehow conveyed both fear and determination. "Please," the stranger whispered, her voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. "They're coming." Elena had made split-second decisions in combat zones across the world, but this moment felt different. Everything she knew about security and protocol said she should report this immediately. Everything her instincts told her said this woman needed her help. "Who's coming?" Elena asked, keeping her weapon lowered but ready. "The Shadowborn," the stranger managed, grimacing in pain. "They've taken my world. Earth is next." She tried to stand but collapsed, the strange armor flickering like a dying light. Elena made her decision. "Don't move. I'm going to help you, but you need to tell me exactly what I'm dealing with here." She holstered her weapon and moved closer, combat medic training taking over. "I am Lyra," the stranger said, her silver eyes fixing on Elena with surprising intensity. "Third daughter of the stellar confluence. And I may have just brought war to your world." As Elena began examining the wound, she noticed the injury wasn't just physical. The stranger's armor seemed to be malfunctioning, creating some kind of feedback loop that was causing her pain. "This technology, it's hurting you?" Lyra nodded weakly. "Neural interface, damaged in the escape. Can't disengage." Elena's fingers found what seemed to be a control panel near Lyra's shoulder. Years of working with advanced security systems gave her an intuitive sense about technology, even alien tech. "I'm going to try something. Tell me if it makes things worse." She pressed her palm against the panel, feeling it respond to her touch with a slight vibration. The armor suddenly liquefied, flowing away from Lyra's body like mercury before solidifying into a small disk. Lyra gasped in relief, her glow strengthening slightly. "How did you know?" she asked, genuine wonder in her voice. "I didn't," Elena admitted. "But technology usually has a fail-safe. Even alien technology, apparently." She helped Lyra to her feet, supporting her weight. "Can you walk? We need to get you inside before whatever's chasing you catches up." As they made their way to the cabin, Elena's mind raced through the implications. An alien princess, assassins, a potential invasion, it was like something out of a science fiction novel. Yet the weight of the woman leaning against her was real enough, as was the strange warmth emanating from her skin. Inside, Elena settled Lyra on the couch and began gathering medical supplies. The dogs, surprisingly, showed no fear of the alien visitor. They sat nearby, alert but calm, as if they sensed she wasn't a threat. "Your world," Elena said as she cleaned the wound, which was already showing signs of rapid healing. Tell me about it. Lyra's expression softened with memory. We called it Luminera. A world of crystal cities and songs that could shape reality. We were a peaceful people, until the Shadowborn convinced enough of our military that peace made us weak. Her voice hardened. They murdered my family. Took control of our quantum gates. Earth has resources they want, and now. She met Elena's gaze. I couldn't let them destroy another world. Elena finished bandaging the wound, her mind already shifting to tactical considerations. How long do we have? Days, maybe weeks. They'll send hunters first, to eliminate any resistance. Then the invasion force. Lyra reached out, touching Elena's hand. Her skin felt like silk charged with electricity. I'm sorry to bring this burden to you. I've spent my life protecting people, Elena said, surprised by how natural it felt to include an alien princess in that mission. But I'll need to know everything, about your people, their technology, their weaknesses. And we'll need help. Lyra nodded, then suddenly tensed. Outside, a streak of light cut across the night sky, too fast for a shooting star, too controlled for space debris. They're already here, Lyra whispered. Elena moved to the window, watching the light disappear behind the mountains. Her quiet life had just become infinitely more complicated, but as she looked back at Lyra, she felt something she hadn't experienced since leaving the military: purpose. Then we better get to work, she said, already mentally cataloging weapons and contacts. Welcome to Earth, Your Highness. Let's make sure it stays free. Dawn broke over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of lavender and gold. Elena hadn't slept, spending the night alternating between watching the skies and studying Lyra, who had finally drifted into a fitful sleep. The alien princess's luminescent skin had dimmed to a soft glow, making her appear almost human in the early morning light. Elena's security monitors showed nothing unusual, but the streak of light they'd seen last night worried her. If the Shadowborn hunters were already here, they needed to move fast. She pulled out her encrypted satellite phone, hesitating only briefly before dialing a number she hadn't used in years. Marcus? It's Rodriguez. Remember that favor you owe me from Damascus? She kept her voice low, watching Lyra stir on the couch. I need your eyes in the sky. Anything unusual in the last 24 hours? And Marcus? Keep this between us. After ending the call, Elena moved to the kitchen to make coffee. Her mind raced through contingency plans, threat assessments, and the growing list of questions she had for her otherworldly guest. The coffee maker's quiet burble was interrupted by a soft gasp from the living room. Lyra was awake, sitting up straight, her silver eyes wide with what Elena recognized as tactical awareness, scanning exits, noting cover positions. Not just a princess, then. Someone trained for combat situations. The hunters, Lyra said, her melodic voice tense. They'll have established a perimeter by now. Standard containment protocol. Elena handed her a cup of coffee, which Lyra examined with curious interest. Tell me about these hunters. Capabilities, weaknesses, anything that could give us an edge. Lyra inhaled the coffee's aroma, then set it aside. They're cybernetically enhanced warriors, stripped of emotion through neural conditioning. Each one is linked to a quantum network that shares tactical data in real time. She touched her healing wound absently. But they're not invincible. The same network that makes them strong can be disrupted. And the invasion force? Larger ships, carrying thousands of troops and terraforming equipment. They'll establish beachheads near major population centers. Lyra's voice cracked slightly. They'll offer peace at first, promise technological advances, medical breakthroughs. But once they have a foothold. She met Elena's gaze. They'll strip your world bare, just like they did to mine. Elena's satellite phone buzzed. Marcus had sent coordinates. 3 anomalous objects had entered atmosphere last night, landing within a 100-mile radius of her position. "They're boxing us in," she muttered. "There's something else you need to know." Lyra stood, moving to the window. Her reflection shimmered against the glass like moonlight on water. "The coup on my world, it wasn't just about military control. The Shadowborn discovered something in Earth's genetic structure, something unique they think could enhance their neural networks. They don't just want your resources. They want your DNA." Elena processed this new information, watching Lyra's expression in the window. "And what do you want, Your Highness?" Lyra turned, and for a moment her royal composure cracked, showing genuine anguish beneath. "I want to save both our worlds. The resistance movement on Luminara is waiting for my signal. If we can prevent the invasion here, expose the Shadowborn's true plans." She stepped closer to Elena, close enough that the strange energy emanating from her skin made Elena's arm hair stand on end. "But I can't do it alone." Their moment was interrupted by the dog's low growls. Elena moved swiftly to the security monitors. A delivery van was approaching the main gate, except Elena wasn't expecting any deliveries, and the van's markings didn't match any local companies. "They're here," Lyra whispered, the markings on her skin pulsing with increased intensity. "That vehicle, it's masking significant energy signatures." Elena was already moving, grabbing her go-bag and weapons. "There's a tunnel, leads to a garage on the other side of the mountain." Cold War paranoia finally pays off. She tossed Lyra a tactical vest. "Can you shoot?" "Our weapons are different, but the principles can't be that dissimilar." Lyra caught the vest with practiced ease, confirming Elena's suspicion about her combat training. They moved quickly through the tunnel, Elena's dogs flanking them silently. Behind them, Elena's security systems would buy them time, enough, she hoped, to reach the backup vehicle and put some distance between them and the hunters. As they emerged into the hidden garage, Lyra suddenly grabbed Elena's arm. "Wait." Her silver eyes were wide with concern. "You're risking everything to help me. Your home, your safety, why?" Elena checked her weapons before answering. The truth was, she wasn't entirely sure herself. But looking at Lyra, this impossible being who had crashed into her life with tales of invasion and war, she felt more alive than she had in years. "Because it's the right thing to do," she said simply. "And because sometimes the biggest risks bring the greatest rewards." She didn't add that she was starting to feel something beyond duty or moral obligation, something that made her heart race whenever Lyra looked at her with those otherworldly eyes. The garage door opened silently, revealing Elena's emergency vehicle, a modified SUV with enhanced suspension and bulletproof glass. As they loaded their gear, a distant explosion echoed from the direction of the cabin. The hunters had found Elena's surprises. "Where are we going?" Lyra asked, sliding into the passenger seat. Elena started the engine, her mind already mapping routes and safe houses. "I've got a contact in Denver, someone who might be able to help us understand what makes human DNA so special to your people. But first..." She shifted into drive, tires crunching on gravel. "First, we need to shake our tail." As they accelerated down the mountain road, Elena glanced at her companion. Lyra sat alert, her otherworldly beauty somehow enhanced by the tactical gear she now wore. The princess caught her looking and smiled, a genuine expression that made her whole being glow brighter. "What?" Lyra asked. "Just thinking this isn't how I expected my week to go," Elena replied, focusing back on the road. "Alien invasions, secret tunnels, high-speed chases. Having second thoughts." Elena smiled, pressing the accelerator as they hit the main highway. "Not even close." In the rearview mirror, dark shapes were emerging from the tree line, moving with inhuman speed. The hunt was on, but Elena felt strangely calm. Whatever was coming, whatever revelations or dangers lay ahead, she knew with absolute certainty that meeting Lyra had changed everything, and she wouldn't have it any other way. The SUV roared down the highway as the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the mountain road. They had a head start, but the hunters would be relentless. Their only advantage was Elena's knowledge of the terrain and Lyra's inside information about their pursuers. That, and the growing trust between them, a trust that would soon be tested in ways neither of them could imagine. The Denver skyline glittered in the distance as Elena guided their vehicle through back roads and industrial areas, avoiding main thoroughfares. Next to her, Lyra's luminescence had dimmed to barely a glimmer, a survival adaptation, she'd explained, though Elena could tell maintaining it was draining her. They'd managed to lose their pursuers 3 hours ago through a series of calculated risks involving an abandoned mining tunnel and a precisely timed explosion. But Elena knew better than to think they were safe. The hunters would be regrouping, analyzing patterns, predicting possible destinations. "Your contact," Lyra said, breaking the tense silence. "Can they be trusted?" Elena pulled into an underground parking garage beneath an unremarkable office building. "Dr. James Chen is complicated. Brilliant geneticist, terrible poker player, and the only person I know who might make sense of what the Shadowborn want with human DNA." The elevator ride to the 15th floor was silent, both women alert for any sign of pursuit. Elena noticed Lyra shifting uncomfortably in her tactical gear, the princess's natural grace somewhat constrained by the human clothing they'd acquired during their journey. The laboratory doors opened to organized chaos, screens displaying complex genetic sequences, holographic protein models rotating in the air, and in the center of it all, a man in his 50s with wild gray hair in a coffee-stained lab coat. "Elena Rodriguez," Dr. Chen said without looking up from his microscope. "Still carrying that modified Sig Sauer with the hair trigger?" "Still wearing socks that don't match," Elena countered, noting the red and blue combination below his lab coat. Chen finally looked up, his eyes widening as they fell on Lyra. The princess had allowed her luminescence to return to normal levels, her skin casting soft patterns of light across the laboratory walls. "Oh," was all he managed. "James, this is Lyra. She needs your help understanding something about human genetics. And we don't have much time." Over the next hour, Lyra explained what her people had discovered about human DNA, patterns that suggested an unprecedented capacity for adaptation and evolution. Chen's excitement grew with each revelation, his fingers flying over keyboards as he compared Lyra's information with his own research. "It's the junk DNA," he finally announced, gesturing to a complex display of genetic sequences. "What we thought was non-coding DNA, leftover evolutionary garbage, it's not garbage at all. It's more like potential. Raw, undefined potential. The Shadowborn believe they can use this potential to enhance their neural networks," Lyra added, her silver eyes reflecting the scrolling data. "Break through the limitations of their current technology. And create an army of super soldiers in the process," Elena concluded grimly. A sudden crash from the corridor outside sent everyone into motion. Elena drew her weapon as Lyra's markings flared with warning light. Chen quickly initiated his lab's security protocols, blast doors sliding into place. "They found us," Lyra whispered, her hand finding Elena's arm. The touch sent electricity through Elena's body, but she forced herself to focus on the tactical situation. "How many?" she asked, already moving to secure the room's vulnerabilities. Lyra's eyes unfocused slightly, sensing through means Elena didn't understand. 3 hunters. They're different from the others. Enhanced. I can feel their neural networks from here." Chen was already deleting data, initiating emergency protocols. "There's another way out," he said, moving to a seemingly solid wall. "Service tunnel, connects to the old bomb shelter system. Cold War paranoia strikes again." The first impact against the blast doors made the whole room shudder. Elena could hear metal groaning under stress that no normal human could generate. They had minutes, maybe less. "Download everything you can," Elena ordered Chen, taking up a defensive position. "Lyra, help him. I'll buy us time." "Elena." Lyra started, concern evident in her voice. "I've fought impossible odds before," Elena said with a confidence she didn't entirely feel. "Just hurry." The second impact cracked the blast door's frame. Through the gap, Elena caught glimpses of their pursuers, humanoid figures in liquid metal armor similar to what Lyra had worn, but darker, almost consuming light rather than emitting it. As Chen worked frantically to save his research, Lyra suddenly moved to Elena's side, her hand brushing Elena's shoulder. "There's something else you should know," she said quietly. "The reason I was drawn to you specifically, it wasn't random." Another impact. The door wouldn't hold much longer. "Your DNA," Lyra continued, "it's special, even among humans. You have more of the potential Dr. Chen discovered than anyone I've ever encountered. That's why I found you. That's why they'll never stop hunting us." Elena processed this revelation as she checked her weapon one final time. "So I'm what, some kind of genetic jackpot?" "Your hope," Lyra said simply. "For both our worlds." The blast doors finally gave way with a thunderous crash. The hunters moved with liquid grace, their armor rippling like oil in moonlight. Elena's first shot seemed to pass right through them, their bodies shifting to allow the bullet's passage. But Lyra was moving too, her own body emanating waves of pure energy that seemed to disrupt the hunter's liquid armor. She was magnificent in battle, Elena realized, royal training combining with otherworldly abilities in a deadly dance. "Got it!" Chen shouted, holding up a small data crystal. "Everything we need." Elena laid down covering fire as they retreated to the secret exit, but the hunters were adapting to their tactics with frightening speed. One of them moved impossibly fast, appearing suddenly before Elena with an arm morphed into a blade. Time seemed to slow. Elena saw the blade descending, knew she couldn't move fast enough. Then Lyra was there, her body glowing with blinding intensity. The princess threw herself between Elena and the hunter, and something extraordinary happened. The hunter's blade made contact with Lyra's energy field, and for a moment, both beings froze in a tableau of light and shadow. Then, like matter meeting antimatter, there was an explosion of pure force that threw everyone back. Elena recovered first, grabbing both Lyra and Chen and dragging them through the secret exit. Behind them, the laboratory was in flames, the hunters temporarily disabled by whatever Lyra had done. "What was that?" Elena asked as they ran through the maintenance tunnel. "A theory," Lyra gasped, clearly drained from the effort. "My people's light energy is antithetical to their shadow technology. I just, never tried using it quite like that before." They emerged into the bomb shelter, Chen immediately moving to the controls to seal the tunnel behind them. Elena caught Lyra as the princess stumbled, feeling the alien skin burning with residual energy. "You could have been killed," Elena said, surprising herself with the intensity of emotion in her voice. Lyra looked up at her, silver eyes bright despite her exhaustion. "So could you. I made my choice." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, something shifted between them. All the unspoken things, the growing tension, the way they moved in perfect sync during battle, it crystallized into something neither of them could deny. Chen cleared his throat awkwardly. "Not to interrupt whatever this is, but we should move. Those hunters won't stay down long, and I have a very bad feeling about what they'll do when they recover." Elena helped Lyra stand, but their hands remained linked. They had the data they needed, but they'd also revealed their hand to the enemy. The next phase would be even more dangerous, finding a way to use this information to stop the invasion while staying alive long enough to do it. As they made their way through the shelter's emergency exit, Elena thought about what Lyra had said. Hope for both their worlds. It seemed impossible, yet looking at the alien princess who had risked everything to save her, Elena began to believe The abandoned steel mill outside Pittsburgh looked like any other Rust Belt relic, but appearances could be deceiving. Elena knew that beneath the crumbling exterior lay one of the most sophisticated underground facilities in North America, a remnant of her special forces days that few knew existed. "Home sweet home," she muttered, guiding their newly acquired vehicle through a hidden entrance. Behind them, Dr. Chen was still analyzing data on his tablet, while Lyra sat in quiet meditation, her luminescence pulsing in slow, steady waves. The past week had been a blur of close escapes and revelations. They'd learned that the Shadowborn had accelerated their timeline, the main invasion fleet would arrive in less than 48 hours. But they'd also discovered something else. Elena's unique genetic structure, combined with Lyra's light energy, might be the key to disrupting the invaders' neural network completely. The facility's lights flickered to life as they descended into the underground complex. Elena had already called in every favor she had, and her old team was waiting for them, 5 of the best special operators she'd ever worked with, now scattered across various private security firms. "Looking good, boss," Marcus called out as they parked. The tall former Marine had been Elena's second-in-command for years. "Though you didn't mention your new friend would be quite so luminous." The team gathered around as Elena made introductions. Besides Marcus, there was Kai, their tech specialist, Rivera, demolitions expert, Wong, tactical planning, and Jackson, their medical officer. Each had been briefed on the situation, and each had come without hesitation when Elena called. "The data Dr. Chen recovered is fascinating," Kai said, already connecting their systems to Chen's research. "The genetic potential in human DNA, particularly in Elena's case, it's like having a key we never knew existed. But we still need to figure out how to use it," Chen added, spreading his findings across a holographic display. The combination of Elena's genetic structure and Lyra's energy signature could create a cascading disruption in the Shadowborn's neural network, but the delivery mechanism. "We'll need to get close to their command ship," Lyra said, her voice carrying that otherworldly resonance that still sent shivers down Elena's spine. "The entire invasion force is connected through quantum entanglement. Disable the hub, and the whole network falls." Elena watched her team absorb this information, saw the determination in their eyes. They'd faced impossible odds before, but this was different. This was saving the world, literally. "What about your resistance back home?" Elena asked Lyra. "You said they were waiting for your signal." Lyra nodded, her markings shifting with emotion. "Once we disrupt the neural network, they'll strike. Many of our people have been waiting for a chance to overthrow the Shadowborn. They just needed hope." Her silver eyes met Elena's. "You gave us that." The next few hours were a blur of preparation. Kai and Chen worked on adapting their equipment to interface with Lyra's technology. Rivera and Wong planned insertion scenarios. Marcus coordinated with trusted contacts in various agencies, building their intelligence picture. Elena found Lyra alone in the facility's observation room, staring at the stars through the reinforced skylight. The princess's glow was subdued, thoughtful. "Having second thoughts?" Elena asked, moving to stand beside her. "About saving our worlds?" "Never." Lyra turned to face her, and Elena's breath caught at her ethereal beauty. "About other things, perhaps." "What other things?" "On my world, there are prophecies about great changes, about bridges between species that would reshape the universe." Lyra stepped closer, her energy field brushing against Elena's skin. "I never believed them until I met you." Elena's heart raced. They'd been dancing around this connection between them, this pull that felt stronger than gravity. "Lyra. I know what we're attempting is dangerous," the princess continued. "The chances of survival are not optimal. But Elena, you should know." She reached out, her luminescent hand cupping Elena's cheek. The touch sent waves of warmth and electricity through Elena's body. "You've become more than just Earth's defender to me." Their moment was interrupted by an urgent call from Kai. "Boss, we've got incoming. Multiple atmospheric entries, bigger than anything we've seen yet." They rushed to the command center, where holographic displays showed dozens of objects breaking through Earth's atmosphere. The invasion fleet had arrived early. "They must have detected what we're planning," Lyra said, her markings pulsing with alarm. They're accelerating their timeline. Elena looked at her team, at Chen with his vital research, at Lyra who had risked everything to warn them. The next few hours would determine the fate of two worlds. And suddenly, she knew exactly what they needed to do. Kai, is the prototype stealth shuttle still in the hangar? Yes, but it's never been tested at high altitude. It has now. Elena turned to her team. We're going to give them something they're not expecting, we're taking the fight to them. The plan came together quickly. The shuttle would get them close to the command ship. Chen's research, combined with Lyra's knowledge, had shown them how to create a disruption pulse using Elena's genetic signature amplified through Lyra's energy. One shot at the command ship's neural hub, and the entire invasion force would be vulnerable. As they prepared for launch, Elena found herself alone with Lyra again, helping her calibrate the energy transfer equipment they'd cobbled together. Your world, Elena said softly, after this is over, what happens? Lyra's markings flickered with something that might have been hope. We rebuild. Create something new, perhaps. Something that bridges our peoples rather than divides them. She paused, then added, it would help to have someone who understands both worlds. Someone strong, brave, genetically unique. Elena smiled, understanding the unspoken invitation. Are you offering me a job, Your Highness? I'm offering you everything, Lyra replied simply. Before Elena could respond, the facility's alarms blared. Multiple contacts on the surface, the Shadowborn had found them. Time to move. Marcus shouted from the hangar entrance. As they rushed to the shuttle, Elena caught Lyra's hand. When this is over, she said, I want to explore that everything you mentioned. Lyra's answering smile was like a star going nova. Then let's make sure we survive. The shuttle's engines roared to life as the first explosions rocked the facility above. They had one shot at this, one chance to save both their worlds and maybe, just maybe, find a future together in the process. Elena took the pilot's seat, feeling Lyra's presence beside her like a warm sun. Ready? The princess's hand found hers on the controls, light and shadow working in perfect harmony. With you? Always. The shuttle launched into the night sky, carrying with it the hopes of two worlds and a love that defied the boundaries of species. Above them, the invasion fleet waited, unaware that their greatest weakness wasn't in their technology or their strategy, but in underestimating what two hearts from different worlds could accomplish together. The stealth shuttle climbed through Earth's atmosphere, its experimental engines straining against the pull of gravity. Through the viewport, Elena watched her world shrink beneath them, a blue marble wrapped in clouds and possibility. Beside her, Lyra's luminescence pulsed in sync with the shuttle's power systems, the princess using her natural energy to help stabilize their ascent. The invasion fleet hung in low orbit like a constellation of dark stars, dozens of massive ships that seemed to bend light around them. At their center, the command vessel dwarfed all others, its surface rippling with the same liquid metal technology as the hunter's armor. Multiple contacts, Kai reported from his station. They're launching interceptors. Elena's hands flew over the controls, years of combat flight training taking over. Marcus, Rivera, weapon systems online. Chen, how's our payload? The scientist checked the complex device they'd built around Elena's genetic material and Lyra's energy signature. Stable, but we'll only get one shot at this. We need to be within 100 meters of their neural hub for maximum effect. The hub will be in the command ship's central core, Lyra said, her silver eyes fixed on the approaching fleet. I can guide us there, but... She hesitated. Elena, there's something I haven't told you. A near miss from enemy fire rocked the shuttle before she could continue. Elena rolled them through a series of evasive maneuvers, threading between streams of energy weapons that left ionized trails in the void. Whatever it is, Elena said, sparing a glance at the princess, it can wait until we save the world. But Lyra's expression was grave. No, it can't. The disruption pulse, it won't just affect the Shadowborn's neural network. Any being connected to their quantum field will feel it. Including me. Elena's heart skipped a beat. What are you saying? I'm saying. Lyra's voice was soft despite the chaos around them. I'm saying this might be goodbye. Another blast rocked the shuttle, closer this time. Elena wanted to stop, wanted to understand what Lyra meant, but the mission came first. It had to. We're being boxed in. Marcus shouted as more enemy ships appeared ahead. Then Lyra did something unexpected. She stood, her body beginning to glow with an intensity that made everyone shield their eyes. I can clear us a path, but it will drain most of my energy. Elena, whatever happens, know that meeting you was worth everything. Before Elena could respond, Lyra pressed her hands against the shuttle's hull. Pure light erupted from her body, spreading out in a wave that rippled through space. Enemy ships caught in its path shuddered and went dark, their shadow technology overwhelmed by Lyra's radiance. Now. Lyra gasped, nearly collapsing. While they're blind. Elena didn't hesitate. She pushed the shuttle to its limits, diving through the gap Lyra had created. The command ship loomed before them, its surface churning like a storm of liquid metal. They're adapting, Chen warned, watching his instruments. The pulse has to be delivered directly to the neural hub. We won't get another chance. Elena looked at her team, the brave humans who had followed her into this impossible mission. Then at Lyra, who had sacrificed everything to save a world not her own. The princess met her gaze, and in that moment, everything else fell away. I'm not losing you, Elena said firmly. We're finding another way. There isn't one, Lyra replied gently. But Elena, you've already given me something I never thought I'd find, a love that transcends worlds. The command ship's defenses were recovering. They had seconds at most. Kai, Elena ordered, transfer shuttle control to my station. Everyone else, get to the escape pod. Boss, no, Marcus started. That's an order. Her tone left no room for argument. As her team reluctantly moved to the escape pod, Elena turned to Lyra. You said your people have prophecies about bridges between species. What if it's not just about our DNA? What if it's about this, about two beings from different worlds choosing to face the impossible together? Understanding dawned in Lyra's silver eyes. The pulse, if we combine our energies directly. It could work, Chen cut in, quickly adjusting calculations. The genetic resonance pattern, amplified through both of you, it would be exponentially stronger. And twice as likely to kill us, Lyra added softly. Elena took her hand. Better than living without you. The next moments were a blur of action. The team launched in the escape pod as Elena piloted the shuttle straight toward the command ship's core. Defenses targeted them from all sides, but Elena flew like she never had before, every movement in perfect sync with Lyra's energy field. They crashed through the command ship's outer hull, the shuttle's reinforced frame barely holding together. Emergency force fields contained the atmosphere breach as they skidded to a stop mere meters from the neural hub, a massive crystalline structure pulsing with dark energy. Ready? Elena asked, standing with Lyra before the device they'd built. The princess's response was to pull her into a kiss that felt like touching a star, warm and electric and infinite. When they parted, both of them were glowing, Lyra's light energy somehow flowing between them. Together, Lyra whispered. They placed their hands on the device as enemy forces burst into the chamber. The genetic key in Elena's DNA combined with Lyra's energy, amplified by the love between them, a force that no neural network, no invasion fleet, no power in the universe could stand against. Light exploded outward, not just Lyra's usual luminescence but something new, something that contained both of their essences. Elena felt Lyra's consciousness intertwined with her own as the pulse expanded, reaching through quantum connections to touch every Shadowborn ship and soldier. The effect was instantaneous. The neural network that had enslaved Lyra's people collapsed, taking the invasion fleet systems with it. Through their connected minds, Elena felt the resistance on Luminara rising up, felt hope spreading across two worlds. When the light faded, Elena found herself still standing, still holding Lyra's hand. The princess was different, her glow dimmed but not gone, transformed into something that bridged both their natures. They had changed each other, become something entirely new. I thought. Elena started. So did I. Lyra smiled, touching Elena's face. But it seems the prophecies were right after all. True bridges cannot be broken. Through the breached hull, they could see the invasion fleet retreating, their shadows dispersed by the light of their combined love. On Earth and Luminara, a new chapter was beginning, one of cooperation instead of conquest, of understanding instead of fear. So, Elena said, pulling Lyra close as rescue ships approached. About that everything you offered. Lyra laughed, the sound like music among the stars. It's still yours, my love. Though I think we've already found something even greater. As their lips met again, Elena knew it was true. They had saved their worlds, but more than that, they had proven that love truly could transcend every boundary, even those between the stars themselves. The story of the human warrior and the alien princess would be told on both worlds for generations to come. Not just as a tale of how they stopped an invasion, but as proof that the greatest power in the universe wasn't in genetics or neural networks or advanced technology. It was in the simple, profound courage of two hearts choosing to beat as one, no matter the cost, no matter the distance, no matter the differences between them. And so a new age began, built on the foundation of their love, a bridge between worlds that would stand for all time.